Corinthians, and he's telling them that he doesn't want to just pass through on his way to Macedonia. He actually wants to spend time with them, which is good. Letting them know how much they mean to him. And I just want to take that as a personal note to you all and let you know that I'm not passing through Goshen. You'll notice that a lot of pastors who plant churches, well, maybe you haven't noticed, but many times they will stick around for about 2 or 3 years, and then they'll move on. I don't want you all to have any fear that that is going to happen. I'm not passing through Goshen and moving on. We're not going back to Colorado. Colorado is not my home. This is my home right here. And just like every place that I go to, I intend to spend the rest of my life here. I have no intention of going anywhere. And I want you all to know that. I'm not passing through. You all are my family. Okay, let's go to verse 13 where he's finishing up his salutation to the Corinthians. Watch, stand fast in the faith, be brave, be strong. Let all that you do be done with love. I urge you, brethren, you know the household of Sept. He says, watch, stand fast in the faith, be brave, be strong. Let all that you do be done with love. I urge you, brethren, you know the household of Stephanas, that it is the first fruits of Achaia, and that they have devoted themselves to the ministry of the saints, that you also submit to such, and to everyone who works and labors with us. I am glad about the coming of Stephanas, Fortunatus, and Achaicus, for what was lacking on your part, they supplied. For they refreshed my spirit and yours, therefore acknowledge such men. Okay, we're going to pause there for a moment. I want to let you know that the foundation of this church and any church is servanthood. If we do not serve each other in love, like Paul said, then it's going to be a bunch of prideful people who are always willing to be teachers, never learners. If we have a prideful spirit, if we have a teaching spirit, and I can think of some people that I've known over the years who always desire to teach, never desire to learn. So anytime you bring up a subject, or anytime you bring up anything in a group, these are the people who are always teaching. Never once do they have an open ear to learn something new. Not that they're not great brothers and sisters in the Lord. They're really wonderful people. But they're never learning anything. They always have a desire to teach something. And that's a very dangerous position to be in. I don't care if you're a pastor or a regular layman. You must have a spirit that is willing to learn. Otherwise, you can become too prideful and the devil will use you. And what I see Paul greeting here are not the teachers, but the servants. He says, you know the household of Stephanas, that it is the first fruits of Achaia, and that they have devoted themselves to the ministry of the saints. So he's greeting that household as the prominent household. Why? Because they have devoted themselves to the ministry of the saints. They exist to make sure that the saints, which is all of us, are taken care of. That's why they exist, is to make sure that we are taken care of. There are people in this group who exist for that purpose, to make sure that everyone is served and taken care of. And here's the shocking part. Here's the really cool part in verse 16. Paul tells the Corinthians to submit to them. Submit to the servants. Not just talking about the pastor or the preacher or the teacher. He's talking about the true servants. These are the people to submit to because they have the greatest experience in the Christian faith, are the ones who are out there serving the Christians. And then Paul even goes further to say that he's glad to see the coming of Stephanas, Fortunatus, and Achaicus. Okay? These 3 men, and most likely their households, he's talking about their coming, and Paul is glad to see their coming. I don't know exactly the context, if they're coming to Corinth, or if it's a coming up in the ranks, whatever it is, but Paul is glad to see it, because what was lacking on your part, they supplied. So these 3 men and their households fill in the gaps where the saints leave things lacking. Are there people in our group today who fill in the gap when something lacks? I would say yes, and I would say it's getting better all the time. There are people here who serve where there is a need. And Paul is recognizing these men who fill in the gaps. Likewise, it's a criticism to the Corinthians, saying, you have gaps. It's time to admit it. There are gaps in your fellowship. There are needs that are there that should not be there. But thankfully, these 3 men and their households are meeting those needs. They have refreshed my spirit and yours. Therefore, acknowledge such men. Acknowledge these people. So Paul is asking the Corinthians to acknowledge these people publicly. Publicly. If you remember last year, we had been meeting for about 1 month when we had our first celebration. That was when Karen and the kids came out. I publicly acknowledged Scott and Fran Wakefield for their servanthood over the previous 2.5 years, and how they gave above and beyond measure, and how Karen and I had no lack because of their service. And tonight, I want to recognize you all for your service. Delmar and Stacy and your family, I want to thank you for your service over the last year. You've opened your home, you've opened your refrigerator, and you've opened your car door. So, thank you. I can remember pretty much every single instance where you guys have helped out. Thank you. Carl, I want to thank you just for giving your time and your gas dollars to get here. That says a lot. I mean, you're giving in that way. I know it's not giving directly to the church monetarily when you pay your money to the gas station, but you're giving of your time and your money to get here, and that's huge. So thank you. And Quinn, thank you for your pro-life ministry. That's also a big blessing. There are some of us who do not have the time to devote to that, and so we thank you for that. And Daryl, thank you for your dedication as well. You always have very wise commentary every time we meet, and it has strengthened me greatly. So I just wanted to thank the 4 of you, households or singles, for what you've given over the last year. Just very, very helpful. And also for the monetary donations that we've received over the last year. That is also a big help to those of you who have given anonymously. Thank you. And so that's all I wanted to share tonight, was how the servants in the church help really make up the church and keep it strong and keep it connected. And they are to be acknowledged from time to time. They are to be looked up to, and they are to be submitted to. So always keep an eye out for those who are serving, and bless them. Keep them encouraged. They need it. And thank you all. And like I said, it's going to be short. So that's it.